Hello everybody, how are you doing? This is Amanda. Today is the 25th of February 2020 and I'm going to be doing a video here on Julian Assange. Now, I wasn't even aware that I was going to be doing this video until this morning, so I was going to say it's been a little bit cobbled together, but that would be disrespect to spirit, because they've been trying to get me up to speed with Julian and have been giving me signs throughout the whole day. I've never felt so, I don't ever use the word pumped. It's not one of the words in my vocabulary, but it's the only word I can use to describe it. I literally feel as though I can't go to bed tonight unless I've done this video. I have got a load of things that I should probably be doing today, and everything has had to just be put to one side so I can do this video. So I can only assume that time is of the essence with this. And we're just going to go straight into it. I am going to ask you to do your own research, and you're welcome to put links below if they are respectful links, nothing nasty, please. That's if I allow the comments on this. I hope I'm able to, but it will depend on the type of comments we get coming in, because the point is that Julian Assange is a very divisive figure, and I've been knowing that I needed to do this video for months, to be honest. But all of a sudden it's here, and it's just like, it's got to be done today. It's got to be today. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about a number of signs that have happened today that have led me to this point of sitting down at 2:30 to do this video. I was thinking of doing it, okay, because somebody made a comment about Julian on my Facebook page last night, and it got me thinking about him. And so this morning I'm driving back from somewhere and thinking about Julian, and all of a sudden I see another thing in the sky, the type of thing that I was talking to you about in my last Ashtar video. That bright, brilliant white light coming through the clouds, you know, the sun, but it's like a different quality of sunlight. The portals that I was talking about in the sky. And it was like, whoa, okay, I'm thinking about Julian, and suddenly there it is. And straight away, I'm there in the Ashtar. The Ashtar energy is there. And Ashtar says, well, Julian is one of the galactic crew here on Earth. He's one of mine. And I suddenly think, God, of course he is. I mean, look at him. He looks so galactic. I mean, what do I mean by that? It's so hard to try and describe, or even try and describe that. There is a look, and he's got it. And have I actually got the Ashtar card to hand? Because he actually looks a darn sight like Ashtar. I'm not saying he is Ashtar, because he's not, but he's definitely one of the crew, okay? Where is it? Yeah, here we go. That's the Commander Ashtar card. This isn't from the Kyle Gray deck, okay? And here we've got Julian. To me, it's pretty apparent. So that's the first piece of information. I think, yeah, okay. And also his aura. I mean, his aura is just huge. I'm quite good at being able to see people's auras, and his is really bright and really, really wide. So he must practice, because he's been in captivity now, or being held against his will, or not being able to leave, you know, embassies for years. He must practice some form of, whether he calls it meditation or not, I don't know. It might just be as natural as breathing to him, but he's got a hold on his energy and is able to withstand something that a lesser man or woman would have crumbled years ago. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he doesn't work with Merkaba energy. Whether he calls it that or not, I don't know. But it feels as though he's aware of the auric space around him. I mean, to be honest, even doing this video now, it sounds a bit crazy, but it's 2:30. I didn't need a bath. I'd had a shower this morning. But I felt like I need to go and freshen up before I do this video for Julian. So I've just gone and had a bath. I haven't got any socks on my feet. I'm barefoot, and I'm never barefoot in winter because I'm warm at the moment, but it's not like me. So I'm barefoot. I had to have a bath, and as I was having the bath, it was almost as though I was cleansing. I was obviously cleansing, but it was also like an auric cleanse as well. And Ashtar said to me that one of the things they've done with Julian is that it's not just that he's being held, he's in prison at the moment, but he's being held against his will. They are using, I mean, for want of a different word, it's torture. But it's not torture in terms of putting somebody on a rack like the old days. I mean, make no mistake about it, in the old days, this guy would have ended up in the Tower of London and would have had his head chopped off, okay? Well, we don't do that anymore, but what happens is there are other things they can do which are deeply unpleasant. There's two things that I'm hearing, and don't worry, I'm not going to go into any details, it's not going to be gory or anything, but one, I think that they deprive him of being able to keep himself clean. There was something I read about him in the paper where he was being accused of being dirty, basically, keeping his space within the embassy dirty. But I'm actually feeling as though there's something else in that actually he's being deprived of some basic necessities in terms of being able to keep himself clean. And also noise pollution. I'm actually doing this video, and again, symbolism is just all around me today. They're building a wall over there, at the neighbours over the road. And again, it's like they're wanting to put Julian literally like the Tower of London. It's like if they could, they'd just put him between four walls and then throw away the key. So he's been, literally walled in. But they've also, as all builders do, seems to me, they're playing music, and it was a bit loud earlier on. It might be loud again in a minute. But it was like straight away, Metatron was saying it's like noise pollution. That's something that he's experiencing. So I think the way that he survives it, and there might be other things that are going on as well, but he somehow has a mechanism of coping, which is about he knows how to go within and to be present just in his own self. That's not to say that it hasn't taken a detriment. He hasn't taken a detrimental hit. The photographs of him now, he doesn't look like that anymore. There's some terrible photographs of him being released. I think when he was dragged out, actually, of the Ecuadorian embassy, it looked terribly dishevelled, terribly pale. Of course, he hasn't seen sunlight very much for years. But the physical self looked almost like a shell of the man he was, because this is him when he was, healthier physically. But the thing about it is that even now, I'm feeling, even though his physical body is taking a whack, and it is something to definitely be concerned about, his health and his well-being, and we'll look at that in the cards in a moment, I feel as though it's like his spiritual self and his Metatron saying his spiritual self is still intact. It does remind me of somebody who's been kept, in a very obviously confined space. And it's like you can't break the person's will, but you can break their body. So he's got a very strong will, and he's got a very strong spirit, and he's definitely got a galactic heritage, as I say, as well. He's not the only one here at the moment who has got a prominent role on our world stage, who has come sort of with a particular mission and task in this lifetime, and comes from galactic lineage, but he's definitely somebody that at the moment is front of news. At the moment, as I say, the US are trying to extradite him back to the US from the UK. That is going on at the moment. Maybe that's why I'm having to do this video literally now. People have said that his life's in danger, or certainly his health is in danger. He is, I'm going to read you just a little bit out here about him. But before I do that, I just want to finish off what I was saying about the signs that I was getting. So yeah, driving home, the light in the sky, Ashtar coming forward saying he's one of mine. Then on the radio comes a song which is Return to Innocence. Great song by Enigma. Great song. I thought that was interesting. Then I'm still thinking about Julian. I'm driving along. I'm in traffic jam. I look to my left, I see a great big silver heart hanging up in somebody's window, just like this enormous silver heart. And I know it's linked into Julian's heart. It's like a code for his heart. And again, if you've watched my Ashtar video, you'll know that silver is one of the strands of colour that comes in with the Ashtar energy, which he carries. I then am following a bus, and there's a photograph. I don't know, they were advertising some amusement park near us, but there's a photograph of a boy on the bus, and it's like Julian would have looked as a little boy. It's like this blonde boy. Literally, it could have been him as a child. It obviously wasn't, but again, it's almost like his inner child screaming out for help. Then, half an hour ago, when I was trying to do this video before I had the bath, there was an awful racket going on outside, which is why I paused and came back to it. And then I thought, hold on, it's not just the music from the builders. There's something else. I thought that sounds like a helicopter overhead. It's a Chinook helicopter going over my house. Well, the Chinook is a USA helicopter, basically. And I know it was a Chinook because in August every year we have an air show here. And my brother knows every single aircraft there is in terms of World War I, World War II and present day craft. So my brother's often said to me about the Chinook when it goes over. So I know what I'm talking about. You never see Chinooks going over here usually, other than at that sort of time of year, August. I'm making this in February. And again, I knew it was a sign. It was a sign linked into, it actually felt like intimidation. And not that I feel intimidated doing this because I know I'm completely safe and protected, but it was a sign that he's under surveillance. He's also had other people under surveillance. It's the whole thing about surveillance and intimidation. Having said I don't feel intimidated, I mean, I don't at all, but I will just say, and I can't even remember who it was who brought it up, but I remember watching a video of somebody else's years ago, and they were talking about every time they tried to do a video on something which effectively was linked to the powers that were and something that they don't necessarily want you to be talking about, there would be military aircraft overhead, literally as though they are watching in on what you're doing. So I just thought, oh, okay, there you are. Well, we're still going to make this video. Having said that, I'm not going to play the game. I'm not going to even attempt to monetize this video because it will get demonetized because it will have Julian's name in it. So if what I'm saying resonates in this, please share it. Please do share it to like-minded people because I don't trust that it will get shared that much on YouTube. Okay. Right. Let me read this then. Let me just read a little bit about who he is. And I also want to have a look at his numerology, which is really interesting. And as I say, pull some cards for him. So it says here, to his supporters, Julian Assange is a valiant campaigner for truth. To his critics, he is a publicity seeker who has endangered lives by putting a mass of sensitive information into the public domain. Assange is described by those who have worked with him as intense, driven, and highly intelligent, with an exceptional ability to crack computer codes. He set up WikiLeaks, which publishes a confidential documents and images, in 2006, and he made headlines around the world in April 2010 when WikiLeaks released footage showing US soldiers shooting dead 18 civilians from a helicopter in Iraq. Later in that year, he was detained in the UK and he was bailed. And then Sweden issued an international warrant over allegations of sexual assault. They were trumped up charges. He was not guilty of that. Don't believe he's ever been tried anyway, but, you know, just look at the timing of those allegations coming in. If you research it, you'll clearly see that there was fabrication there. I believe actually it's been retracted anyway, the claims. Yeah, I mean, he's never denied that he didn't have sex with those women. He did, but he says it was consensual. He then spent 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, seeking refuge. He was released, was it last year? And it says here on the 1st of May 2019, he was sentenced to 50 weeks in jail for breaching his bail conditions after he'd been released from the embassy. And then bringing us up to speed, June of last year, the USA filed 17 new charges against him for violating the Espionage Act relating to the publication of classified documents in 2010. WikiLeaks said that the announcement was madness and the end of national security journalism. Yeah, the 2010 rape allegation has been dropped. He's currently in London's Belmarsh prison, fighting extradition to the USA. There was a lot of people saying that I don't know whether it's he has said or his team has said that they fear for his life should he return to the USA. So that's sort of bringing us up to speed. But as I say, that's just a tiny, tiny proportion of what's out there. I just want to get to what I can pick up with regard to him. I wanted to mention as well Chelsea Manning. Chelsea Manning was, let me just get this bit right. Chelsea Manning, she is a US Army intelligence analyst who provided the information that WikiLeaks then leaked, if that makes sense. Okay. Chelsea Manning was jailed for her part in that and is still currently, I believe, in jail and is refusing to testify against Julian. Right, let's just get into Julian's energy. Let's just see what we can get. First thing I want to do is just make a note of when he was born. He was born on the 3rd of July 1971. Numerologically, that makes him a 3, 28 and 1. Those are the numbers that we take out. I worked it out earlier. 3 links to Jupiter and is the colour coral. 28 links into the energy of new beginnings. Number 1 is linked into the energy of the sun. How deeply, deeply ironic that somebody who basically has a life path number 1, which is linked into the energy of the sun, has been deprived of the sun, whether you think that's by his own doing or not. Literally didn't see the sun hardly for 7 years when he was in the Ecuadorian embassy. So what do these numbers 3, 28 and 1 mean? 3, as I say, it's linked to Jupiter. You might have heard me talk about this before. Jupiter is the biggest planet in the sky. So it's to do with somebody coming in who's going to do life in a big way. Okay, this isn't somebody who's going to be a little shrinking violet and who's going to hide. Although I do actually feel there's a part of him that would quite like to have done that. But it was never his sole mission to be the person that was in the background. He's very interesting because, of course, what he was doing was background stuff. He'd probably describe himself as a bit of a sort of computer nerd, because I do feel I've got his energy here. It's almost like he wants me to be his voice. Somebody who would have spent a lot of time indoors at a computer screen, cracking computer codes, writing codes, encrypting information. So there's a side to him that sort of is quite insular in that way. Also another reason why he's probably been able to survive the captivity that he's had. But yet there's this other side of him where he was always meant to be this big figure on the public stage, which people talk about. You can see that within the colours and the numerology as well. So Yeah, so linked to Jupiter, was always going to make a big noise, was always going to make a big a light on the world stage. 28 is the energy of new beginnings. Well, for him, he was trying to bring a new beginning in for the world. Now, what I mean by that is Metatron said earlier to me that Julian is, what was the word? A house sweeper. A house sweeper. And I had to clarify what Metatron meant by that. And what he showed me is he's somebody that the house is the world. Okay, so the house is the world. The earth is the world. So he is the house sweeper for the world. And what his part of his mission was to come to earth to basically go into all of the darkest corners, all of the nooks and crannies, and bring all of the dirt, all of the things that people were trying to keep hidden in the corners that nobody was supposed to know about. His job was to bring it all out into the open, put it into a great big pile, and then for the world to do something with it. Wasn't necessarily his job to be the one to then decide what had to be done as a result of the information being made public. It was just his job to sweep the house, okay? To bring the different pieces of information that had been hidden, that shouldn't have been hidden because there was wrongdoing within them, into the public arena. So that's what Metatron means by him being a house sweeper, an earth sweeper. And that's what comes in with this 28 energy of the new beginning. 28, 2 and 8 make 10. 1 and 0 make 1. That's how we get to the 1 energy. But actually it is worth just saying 10 as well, because 10 is linked into the Wheel of Fortune. So there was always a degree of, there's a degree of fate in his life actually. It does feel as though there's a number of fated events. I believe that fate plays a part in everybody's life to a degree, although I also believe we have free will. I feel as though there are key events in our life that are fated to happen, but around that there's an awful lot of room for manoeuvre, even in terms of how quickly we can get to these fated events, whether we circumnavigate them for years or whether we go direct there. But he seems to have got more fated events in his life than maybe other people may have. And the number 1 energy, as I say, is linked into the sun. Now, in terms of a colour energy, it's linked into yellow. And yellow is to do with knowledge. So it's really interesting, actually, because yellow is knowledge, but gold is wisdom. So again, his job was just literally to put that great big pile of knowledge into the public arena. What you do with it is anybody's guess. And I don't believe he had a plan necessarily in terms of what was to happen, whether it was unintentionally put into the middle or not. That at soul level was always what was going to happen. But yeah, so he's all about knowledge. His whole soul signature, it's all about knowledge. It's also all about the analytical mind, because yellow is a colour which is all to do with the analytical mind, the rational mind, acquiring of knowledge. So the fact what he did in terms of compiling all this data, this knowledge, churning it around, and then releasing it, was completely in line with actually who he is at soul level. He's somebody who, to be honest, as I look at his colours and his numbers, I've seldom seen somebody that is so aligned with their soul path, okay? Whether you agree with what he's done or you don't agree with what he's done, whether you think he's a hero or a villain, this guy is completely and utterly aligned with what he came in to do in this lifetime. Make no mistake about that. And what I am getting is that he was literally sent on a mission, I'm hearing, it's not like Mission Impossible. It's okay. I'm not a big Tom Cruise fan for different reasons, but I've got that film Mission Impossible in my head. In a way, it was a mission impossible, okay? I assume the Tom Cruise films that, he's the hero and he makes it possible. I'm not so sure with Julian. I feel as though he was given something to do, and he was actually one of the brightest stars I'm hearing within Ashtar's crew, or is one of the brightest stars, because a lot of other people were like, oh, no, thank you, I'll pass on that one. You know, that doesn't sound like a barrel of laughs for a lifetime to go down there and do that and then have to face the consequences of your actions, because I'm feeling a very strong sacrificial energy with him. And it'll be interesting to see what the cards say, and I hope and pray that actually the cards say something a bit more positive than what I intuitively gut feel and just feeling, because I don't sense there's a happy ending here. I hope I'm wrong. I do feel there's a lot of protection around him, having said that, and I do believe we're living in times where anything is possible. And if enough people can get behind him and support him, I think the tide can turn. But tuning in today, and as I say, currently there's the extradition going ahead. A lot is uncertain, or the extradition trial is going ahead. There's a very shaky energy with him. Okay. When I say he's got protection around him, I know he's got Ashtar around him, but the other energy that came through very strongly for him, so maybe surprised me a little bit, but sort of didn't afterwards, is Mother Mary. So I don't know what his relationship was like with his mother, whether his mother's still alive, whether this is to complement the mother he had, or whether there's, I don't know, there's a gap there in terms of how he was mothered. Maybe I'm looking too deeply at it, but Mother Mary feels as though she's very strongly around him, offering her protection. And I don't know, that just feels quite beautiful to me. So yeah, Mother Mary. I also wanted to mention, I was picking something up linked, because Ashtar's all about symbols. He's not all about symbols, but symbols seem to feature very predominantly with the Ashtar energy. And he was sort of showing me a symbol in my mind's eye, which actually looked a little bit like a dollar sign. So I don't know whether that's I think he's having a joke. He's saying it was a joke, okay. But he's saying it's a joke, but it's not a joke, because what he's saying is like, follow the money, follow the money. In a way, that's what Julian was trying to do. Julian was trying to get people to follow the money. Follow the money trail, and if you follow the money trail in our world, you end up with who are the real villains, okay? And they aren't necessarily the people that are put up there as poster boys for the ones that have done something wrong and who get the rotten tomatoes thrown at them, you know, put in jail. Follow the money trail is what Ashtar is saying, and you will find who the true villains are. And it's interesting because the Ashtar energy, I've never felt this before with him, because he's quite new to me as a guide, but I'm feeling like he's very protective of Julian. It almost feels like it's like a father-son type energy. I mean, he's not Ashtar's son, but it's like we're all children of God at the end of the day. So maybe we all need to start realizing that we are all children of different aspects of any ascended master, okay? So that's sort of the energy I'm getting with Ashtar and Julian. It's like a favourite son. It's almost like a favourite son that's gone off into this wilderness that we call Mother Earth with this very difficult mission to bring some truth in, knowing that that truth is going to be twisted and you're going to be made to be the villain of the piece, whereas actually you're the hero. But yeah, he's got protection. He's got Mother Mary. He's got Ashtar. And then Ashtar said there's a symbol. And I have got a book on symbols. I don't know where I picked this up from. It's a good book. It's called Discovering Signs and Symbols by Kirsten Riddle. I think actually I found it at Avebury. Avebury Rings is a good little shop at Avebury. Anyway, Ashtar said to me, because he's also about numbers, he said, go to page 48. So I thought, okay, 48. And we get to this. Now, I've never heard of this symbol before, okay? And it's called, and I'm sure this is another word that I'm going to say wrong. I'm going to give it an attempt. It looks like you pronounce it Hurun-jin-er. Hurun-jin-er. It says that this sacred symbol was often found carved into burial stones and on weapons. It's a talisman against evil, and it has many meanings. And the point is that this is around Julian's energy. He's got this sign around him. So this is a sign that helps to protect against evil. And it's also associated with the god Odin and his power over death. This symbol is made up of 3 interlocking triangles. Can you see that? In fact, I've actually printed a depiction of it out for you. Thought I had. Oh. Best laid plans. Thought I printed. Never mind. That's what it looks like. 3 interlocking triangles create a symbol with 9 points, which is thought to represent the 9 worlds of Norse folklore. It's also very closely associated with rebirth, reincarnation and childbirth. And it's named after Hurringana, the mightiest of giants, who was eventually slain by the god of thunder and lightning. Thor, this is the symbol of strength, courage and the sacred power of the other worlds. So, yeah, and look, the picture in the book, you see, we've got like this warrior. This is like Julian, it's like this warrior heart. He's got like a warrior's heart. He's Australian, isn't he, Julian Assange? Because I can't get my head around that. I mean, he is Australian, of course he is. But, I mean, what does an Australian look like? What does an American look like? What does anybody look like? We're all, you know, what we're learning is we're all multinational, multidimensional beings. But, I mean, has he got Scandinavian ethnicity? Because to me, I'm just seeing somebody of Scandinavian origin. So the fact that that symbol for him has come up as a Norse symbol would link with that. Maybe you can let me know if you know that about him. But anyway, yeah, he is Australian. So, okay, let's go into it. Let's pull some cards. Let's see what we're going to get. The 2 sets of cards that I'm going to use are my own, the Archangel Metatron Self-Mastery Oracle, and I'm going to use the Sirian Starseed Tarot by Patricia Corey. I'm going to put them back into the deck, but I just pulled these 2 for Julian earlier for myself. I got the Seeker of Orbs and Starseed. I mean, he is a Starseed, okay? So that's just confirming that his Starseed galactic nature. But the Seeker of Orbs would be I think it's either the Knight or the Prince of Swords. Orbs is linked into truth in this deck. So here he is. I mean, look at that. I mean, it's a perfect card in many ways. I know it shows a woman, but he has actually got quite a female energy. He's quite androgynous. He's got an androgynous feel to him, actually. The other thing I was picking up with him earlier is I feel that he's on the autistic spectrum. And he said that to me because I've got his spirit here basically. So again, there's a few people in our world at the moment who are taking leading positions who are on the autistic spectrum. And it's quite interesting because I've talked about Chris Packham before, who's a UK environmentalist, wildlife expert. And Chris has been subject to a lot of abuse. In the paper this weekend, somebody's strung up some dead animal on his gate, just to try and intimidate him because Chris loves animals. But, that would have upset him, I'm sure. But he's also had death threats and all sorts of things directed at him. But he's come out and he said, the thing is you can do it because there's a part of me that is able to cope because I'm not responding in the same way that other people may respond. I'm responding on a different spectrum, a different scale. And so some of the things that people are throwing at him, it's like he's saying it is water off a duck's back because they're not getting through to me. And I remember reading an interview with him and he was saying, actually, my autism is helping me cope with some of what's being thrown at me, which I thought was quite interesting. So I think that's the same with Julian as well. It's like that whatever, we're all, I mean, somebody said to me the other day, and I believe this, I feel we're all on the spectrum at somewhere. We're all on the spectrum somewhere. It's just where we are, basically. But wherever he is, there's a part of it which has actually been helping him to survive, is what I'm hearing. But anyway, back to this card, the Seeker of Orbs. And think about orbs as truth. Look at that. That's somebody who is literally surrounded by darkness. They're surrounded by darkness. They've got all that blue light of Ashtar around them, and they are just holding that orb. That orb represents the truth. And they're trying to get that truth through this darkness out into the world in some shape or form. And they are being guided throughout that whole process. That's what that card says to me. Anyway, I'm going to put those cards back into the deck. I'm going to give them a shuffle. I'm just going to think about the type of questions I want. I'm actually feeling a bit of a pain in my chest, so I'm hoping he's okay in terms of his chest area, his heart. Oh, let me just breathe, guys. It's not my stuff. This is his stuff. I'm also suddenly feeling a little bit sick. So let's just thank you for showing me his current state of health, but please take that away from me, and please take it away from anybody else who just experienced that. Thank you. Okay, let's spray Ashtar. He would throw this tea back in my face, not in my face, in terms of Britain's face. I'm actually feeling quite a kindred spirit with him. Some of the dates of things that have happened to him in his life, they link into my life as well. WikiLeaks, I think it was, where is it here? WikiLeaks was founded in 2006. One of my daughters was born in 2006. He's also got, he's got things like the 11 energies with him. 7th of December, he surrendered to the UK police. That's my wedding anniversary. There's all sorts of things with his dates and my dates, so quite interesting. Anyway, take it away. I don't need to just be that present with his energy that I have to feel what he's feeling quite that much. Please, please Metatron, please Ashtar. Okay, thank you. I'm just going to pull, I'm not even going to ask a question, I'm just going to pull a card. What does, Ashtar, what would you like to say linked into, see, I want to keep saying Ashtar. Ashtar, what would you like to say linked into Julian at this moment in time? What is it you would like people to know linked into Julian at this time? Wow, oh my God. No wonder I was feeling it. Look at that card. The shadow. Oh, blimey. God almighty. Okay, what this is Ashtar is saying what Julian is wanting us to try to look at is the shadow in our midst. He's wanting us to confront the darkness in our midst. He's wanting us to look at the lies and the corruption and the deceit in our world. And the darkness wants to engulf him and take him out for doing so. If I put the card right up, can you see there's the shape of two people there? And can you see here there's like a blonde figure and then there's somebody else here, okay? That's him, that's his energy, that's the blonde hair, that's him. Not sure who this other person is yet. Oh, okay, this could be Chelsea Manning, I'm hearing. Okay, this is the two of them. They're caught up in a huge, great big web here. And they've been caught in the spider's web, is what I'm hearing. They've been caught in the spider's web. There is another card that I'm being told to show you from a different deck. What else can we say about the shadow? People will do anything to run away from the shadow. Those that are in shadow and are protected, here we go, want that status quo maintained. Look at that, caught in the web. That's the card I was being shown in my mind's eye. Caught in the web, manipulation, drama and intrigue. These two cards. Don't like the fact that the person who feels almost like this, the one who's manipulating and controlling the web, is wearing a cross. I'd like, please, to see Julian's energy. Please, Ashtar, can you show me Julian's energy? Can you show me Julian's energy? Can you show me Julian's energy? Okay. There he is. That's why he showed me himself on the, like the picture of that little boy on the bus. I don't know, there's something about his childhood. I don't know what it is. It feels almost too private to go into. He is what he's a. I mean, I don't like to get caught up in words, but you know, he's an indigo, a crystal, whatever you want to call. You know, he's one of the new. He's a starseed. He's a starseed. Okay, that's who he is. And the problem that, well, no, not the problem. The opportunity that's here is that the indigos, the crystals, the rainbow generation, of which he is part, they are here to challenge the status quo. They are here to shake things up. They are here to do things differently. They are not here to play the game. And if they see that, they're going to call it out. If they see that, they're going to call it out. They're not going to play the game. They're not going to play the game. But look how innocent that is. That's his energy, remember. I asked for a card with his energy. Remember I got that song earlier, Return to Innocence? It's like he's offered the world this precious jewel. I'm offering you this precious jewel, this information, this knowledge. What are you going to do with it? Where to go next? Let's pull a card from the Metatron deck next. Metatron, what would you like to say? With regard to Julian Assange, what would you like us to know? Julian Assange. Red. We've got the red energy. Funnily, I'm wearing my red shirt. I mean, this is a really red shirt, isn't it? It's a really red shirt. Red is the colour of the leader. Okay, this is number 55. 55 is a master number. So he's got... he has a master number energy to him. It's funny actually, I had a healing myself yesterday and I'm not quite sure how they worked it out, but they worked out I had a master energy 88. So I'm not saying that's good, better or whatever, but you know, there's a 55 energy here with him. 55, trying to lead into the fifth dimension. He's not of the earth though, I'm hearing. You see, this is the card of the earth. Although it's the red card, it's the card of the earth. He's disconnected from the earth. He never... I've heard this before. You can incarnate onto the planet, but sometimes it's as though you're only 75% fully in your body. Sometimes it's less than that, actually. And it's particularly starseeds and indigos that seem to have this issue. It's almost as though I arrive on Earth and Earth is contaminated and dirty and God, look at this. You know, I thought I was coming, I knew I was coming to clean up the planet, But look at that. I didn't know it was that bad. So it's almost like this, oh, I don't quite want to be here. Doesn't mean he's going to do anything. That's not what I'm saying. It's like energetically, they come into body, but they don't fully come into body. You wouldn't necessarily know it. They might know it because they might feel a bit floaty and out of it. And they will also do things to distract from not being fully present in the body. And you can get very caught up in things to take your mind off fully being present and living an earthly life. And I feel this is also a little bit about linked into the computer work with him and the coding. And I'm just seeing this is way before he was arrested, even probably way before Wiki. I went and got a drink. I was saying that I'm seeing him hunched over, analysing and analysing and analysing computer codes. And in that way, it's a way, he's basically disengaged from the outside world. So he found a way to be in the world, but not of the world. And that's very common with people that aren't completely 100% in their body. And often people who aren't 100% in their body, it's linked into this reluctance to fully put your feet firmly on earth. I also pick up very strongly with him that this is his first incarnation here. I don't feel he's got any past karma linked into earth. He reminds me very much in that respect with regard to Michael Jackson, the work that I've done with Michael. Same thing came up, that this was a first incarnation here on earth. I don't believe that Michael had previous lives here on earth. He never showed that to me. He showed me that he literally just landed, again, galactic time traveler type energy. Similar to Julian, this is a first exposure to planet Earth. And because it's a first exposure to planet Earth, it literally is, it's like I haven't properly put my feet down here because it's really not quite what I expected it to be. When I signed up, I knew it was going to be maybe a little bit challenging and a bit unfamiliar, but this is like a different level. This is just something else. And I feel as though what Julian's saying, and this will be my last incarnation on Earth as well, I don't plan on coming back here. So I'm just shuffling some cards, and I was just really sort of, as I was having a drink, just one came up which I thought was quite interesting. I should probably just put it back into the deck, and now I can't find it again. It was just another nod to the Ashtar energy that I feel is watching over him. You know, we talked in my last video about Ashtar and water, and then we talked about Ashtar and the colour blue, and we've also mentioned eyes with Ashtar. It all comes through the eyes. I pulled this card, okay, and this was actually linked into Outlook for him, and it comes up as the Master of Chalices, which I think is the King of Cups. So that to me is saying that he is, of course, not surprisingly, very, very emotional at the moment. Who wouldn't be in his scenario? But he is being watched over. I do get this feeling that he's being watched over and he's being protected. Maybe that's why he's been able to last so long in very difficult circumstances. You know, going back to that red card again, can you see the hand here? That is an ancient shamanic symbol that is found on, you know, many indigenous sites worldwide. And I think it's called the healer's hand, the shaman's hand, but it confers protection. And again, the Metatron card that we pulled for Julian is about safety. And here we've got eyes watching over. So I don't know. I actually feel, I mean, I'm not going to sit on the fence with this one. I feel that Julian is working for the light, absolutely. And I actually am going to go so far as to say that those that are trying to bring this man down, I feel as though the all-seeing eye, which is actually a higher power, I think there's going to be some karma to play for people that try to take this guy out. I really do. So, okay, that being said, let's move on. Let's just pull some cards now. Let's make sure that I've got the right deck here. I think I'm going to use... Yeah, I'm going to use this deck, Healers of the Earth Oracle, which I've used before. Let's just see what questions we want to ask. I will just say that I just had a quick look at the news in terms of the latest developments in the case. And there's an article here which is reporting in the last couple of hours that his lawyers have complained after the first day of the extradition hearing yesterday, because they're saying that he was handcuffed 11 times. That number again, 11 energy, linked into portals, doorways, awakening, wake-up call, Metatron. So he was handcuffed 11 times, he was stripped naked twice, and he had his case files confiscated after the first day of his extradition hearing. This is according to his lawyers, who complained of interference in his ability to take part. So that's a bit of a worrying development there. But we'll just bring that in. Okay, let's just have a look at the energy around Julian at this time. Please show me the energy around Julian at this time. Please show me the energy around Julian at this time. And we're going to go for 4 cards. The first card is linked into processing energies. It says an adjustment period, settling of energies. For him, even though he doesn't want to be in the predicament that he's in, it is a change. Realise that this guy has been holed up in an embassy, living in a room, unable to go out, unable to live a normal life for the last 7 years. He's now in Belmarsh prison. So, and he's lived with this sword of Damocles hanging over his head in terms of what is going to happen to me. So even though what's happening now isn't necessarily good, at least it is a change. It's a change of circumstance. And so he's adjusting to this new change, which at the moment is the trial and what potentially is to come. He is being, I hope somebody's got his back in prison, basically, because this is the card of somebody spying on you. It is to do with hiding, secret surveillance, and masked. So this is a card of somebody. He's being watched very, very closely, very, very closely. Will this guy ever get freedom? Even if he ever were to be released, that is very worrying. It's they won't ever let him be, is what I'm feeling with that. And at the moment, they're just hovering over him, watching his every move. There's something else that's been in the press recently, that he sought some legal advice from a lawyer. I don't know how many years this goes back, and even the lawyer was recording the conversations, which of course is completely against the code of practice. So it's like, who can he trust? How does he feel? He feels completely numb. He feels completely numb. And I'm actually hearing the word disassociated. I don't know whether that's, it says that on the card, disassociation, shock, severe stress, okay? Numb, severe stress, disassociation and shock. 3 and 8 make 11. It's the shadow of that 11 energy. Fourth card is, though, because he is, I feel, an evolved soul, because you don't take on these roles unless you're an evolved soul, of coming in and trying to, sweep up Earth. Remember, he's called the House Sweeper by Metatron. He's trying to, at soul level, learn what he can from this experience. but it's taking a big toll on his human body. This is the card of higher learning, you see. So at some level, he's learning something from this whole experience. If he ever does get released and he is able to lead some sort of normal life, I feel there's books to be written about this experience. Okay, again, the analytical mind is still sharp. On the bottom of the deck, we get the card of the circus continues, round and round the merry-go-round goes. Scatteredness, aimlessness, repetition. So even though at some level, yes, it's a change because, you know, I'm not staring at the same four walls. Now I'm staring at another different four walls. Now I'm going through this, what I'm hearing is show trial. There is just this, it's, you know, it's sad. I'm not going to stay in this energy too long because there's a feeling of real hopelessness here. Let me put these cards back into the deck because they might come out again linked into different questions. And we're going to stay with this deck. I'm going to ask, will he be extradited? I don't know whether the cards is going to tell me this or not because I just don't know whether we're going to be privy to it. But let's just see. Will he be extradited to the USA? My gut feel is yes, but let's see what the cards say. That's if he gets on the plane. Will he be extradited to the USA? There's real danger around this guy. So those of us that believe in him, we really need to be sending him some light. That one just wanted to flip out. What does that one mean? Without a care, disregard, ignorance, turning a blind eye. I don't want to say that. Spirit. I was talking about the fact that if he makes the plane, I think this guy's life is in danger. Turning a blind eye. The powers that were, because I refuse to call them anything else, don't want this guy alive in any country. Okay? That's the truth. And so if they were to turn a blind eye to something happening to him, to them, it wouldn't be a problem. How deep do I want to go with this? When I'm saying Epstein, I don't even want to mention that guy's name on this channel. He was murdered basically in his cell, and they, you know, a blind eye was turned to that murder. Whether truth comes out, I don't know. I'm also seeing here the wooden door. That wooden door reminds me of the door that we see Prince Andrew peering out of, you know. So this is just symbolic of the powers that were, okay, that are able to still, worst case scenario, do things. But let's try and change this timeline. Let's put some Archangel Zadkiel around us, around this energy. Let's ask for transmutation of that lowest possible outcome. If it is possible for that to happen, please, Zadkiel, please put the violet flame around Julian. Put the violet flame around where he's currently held. Calling in Ashtar, calling in Metatron. Calling in Julian's higher self, calling all those who believe in this man to protect him and keep him safe, and for his journey to complete in the time that it's meant to, without anything else coming in to interfere with that. Thank you, so be it, and it is so. Okay. Right. What are we asking now? Will he be extradited was the question. Okay, will he be extradited? we've got this card again. We've also got card number 11, which is the card of fruitful labours. So somebody's labour pays off into a harvest and something is manifested. It's funny that I needed to just zap the Archangel Zadkiel, because we've got here the need to clear the air and purify surroundings. Purging negativity. I think what this is saying is that I'm being shown two different timelines. And at the moment, the timeline that we're on is, I feel that it doesn't end well for him. I'm not talking about death. I'm talking about, you know, the question I asked was linked into, will he be extradited? It's like, I feel somebody's fruitful labour. I think this is somebody's fruitful labour in terms of trying to get him extradited. Pays off. And I think it pays off for the people that are spying on him and, you know, holding him captive and doing bad things. But yet we've got the card here which says, clear that energy. I've done this before in a reading. I've pulled two different timelines. That's one timeline. Let's see what the second timeline could be. Let's just bring Zadkiel in to clear that. What is the highest timeline here, please? The highest timeline, okay. That's interesting. That might seem a really bizarre card to come out. It's the card of nature sprites. Talks about fairies, nature, eco-friendliness. But, you know, I read the cards intuitively. Look at that. We've got frozen in time on the bottom of the deck. In a weird way, it almost is as though Mother Nature could come in to pause something, to stall something. This could even be the coronavirus that comes in, which prevents flights from taking off. I mean, I don't know, you know, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. You know, in the news today, we've got, there's a hotel in Tenerife, quarantined. Loads of people in the UK go to Tenerife on their holidays. You know, I've said this on other videos. I'm not trying to, you know, bring in a negative timeline here. I'm just trying to be realistic. Coronavirus is going to have an impact on the world economy and on our movement, the movement of people. I've said to you already, I've cancelled plans to go out to the Far East in a few months' time. It just, for me, it didn't feel right. I'm not saying you don't do it. For me, it didn't feel right. That was my guidance. But I'm feeling as though there's going to be a knock-on effect in terms of how we travel. So I don't know. That's what I'm picking up, that Mother Nature might step in. And again, I'm going to reference Michael Jackson again. I can't remember what the actual date was that this happened, but there's something linked into where Michael Jackson was trying to, there was a trial that was coming up and there was an earthquake that happened. Around literally the day before, there was going to be some big development with regard to his trial, and it wasn't going to be in his favour, and Mother Nature stepped in and there was an earthquake basically, and what was supposed to happen didn't take place on that particular day. Something like that. I'm not saying it's an earthquake, but I feel as though Mother Nature has a part to play in this somehow, you know. The elements. Again, going back to the Canary Islands, you might not realise this if you're not in Europe and you don't get European news, but flights were grounded for, you know, a good 24, 48 hours. On one of the Canary Islands last week, there was a Saharan orange sandstorm that just covered the island. No flights could take off. I have been trapped on Jersey, believe it or not, years ago when that volcano was blowing and, you know, all the ash was in the sky and planes couldn't take off. And I think we had to get a boat back, basically. So, you know, don't rule out that Mother Nature can't step in sometimes to stop things from happening. Okay. I'm just going to leave it at that, because there's a bit of an unknown quantity with that. And, you know, I'm not in the business of fortune telling. I'm just reading the energies here. So that's what I want to say on Extradition. I was going to pull some cards for his health, but I think we can see where his health is. Let me just pull one more for his health. Current health, Julian Assange. Yeah. He's the wounded healer. Those of you that know about the wounded healer, the wounded healer is somebody who takes the punches, who takes the knocks, who gets the scars, who experiences the pain, and then they put it to use to, I'm going to talk about this in a minute, they put it to use to basically help humanity. So the knocks that he's getting, he's trying to learn from them. It goes back to this card that we got. Where was that card with all the books on it? There was a card which had all the books. He's trying to learn from this experience. So he is in pain, absolutely. But that's in many ways, that could be a good card, because the wounded healer uses their experiences to then help humanity in some way. That's why a lot of healers become healers, because they've got wounds themselves. That's why they get into it. To heal themselves, but then they also end up healing other people. So this would imply that whatever he's going through at the moment, physically, mentally, emotionally, ultimately he then is able to help other people at some point in the future. Now my phone just went off with a news flash, as it does, and I was just talking about this coronavirus. You know, Mother Nature might step in to prevent extradition or something like that. I don't know. Here we've got The Independent. Is just saying the coronavirus outbreak leaves the Olympics with a 3-month window to decide if the Tokyo 2020 Olympics can even go ahead, says their longest serving member. Okay, that doesn't surprise me, but it's, you know, that's where we're at with the world. You know, we have to get real. This is where we're at. It's going to have an impact on the way that we conduct ourselves, how we travel. I'm not saying it's going to be forever, but until it passes, until it's under control, then things are going to be cancelled and or delayed or postponed. So we got that with Julian. How interesting. Right. Let's do a message from Julian himself, shall we? What would Julian like to say to us himself? If you've watched this far, thank you. Looks like it's going to be another long video. If you stuck this far, you probably believe in his innocence. So he's saying thank you. I'm going to pull some cards. What's Julian's message to us that are watching? What's Julian's message to to us that are watching? I'm going to pull 6 cards. What's Julian's message to us that are watching? What's Julian's message to us that's watching? Oh, bless him. Okay, what's Julian's message to us that's watching? What's Julian's message to us that is watching? What's Julian's message to us that is watching? One more card. What's Julian's message to us that is watching? Okay. I'll show you the cards one by one. We've got the card of cleansing again on the bottom of the pack. So he's saying to anybody that's trying to, you know, fight for him, make sure you keep yourself clear as well. He's not wanting any of us to be contaminated by these powers that were. He's looking out for people that are with him and his tribe. And it's interesting why I had to have that bath earlier, wasn't I? You know, it was it all seems to fit. Just keep ourselves pure, he's saying. Detoxify, keep your aura clear. Okay, right, so his message to us, braving the storm. It says, facing difficulties, finding courage and having fortitude. He's saying that for us in the world at the moment, there is a storm, there is a tempest that is ongoing. And he is asking us to be brave, to have strength and to have courage and to basically ride it out, okay, to ride it out, to look out for each other. You see the lightning? Those of you that watch Ashtar, my video on that, you know that lightning was one of the signs of Ashtar being around. So, but there's power within the lightning as well. There's power here, but it's an acknowledgement that now is a difficult time for the world. It's a difficult time for humanity, that there are big difficulties, but you have to find the courage. You have to find that fortitude. He is confirming what I said earlier about this thing about that he's a bit out of body, okay? This card literally says out of body. It talks about unretrieved soul, lost self, lack of grounding, out of body. He is acknowledging that many of us at the moment are wanting to sort of escape because this world is dense and difficult and heavy at the moment. But he's saying, if you can, learn from my example and be as present in your body as you can, because your body is the vehicle that you need to get yourself through this lifetime, so look after it. Any unretrieved parts of yourself need to be pulled back and integrated. He is saying this is one of the reasons that Ashtar is coming in at this time, because unretrieved parts of you include the galactic pieces of the jigsaw just as much as it is the angelic pieces of the jigsaw, just as much as it is things that have actually happened to you in this particular incarnation that you need to claim back. So claiming back parts of yourself at all levels of your multidimensionality. Nose is going, so it means it's important. One of the things that we need to be claiming back, and this is true for many of you that watch me, and it also includes myself, we've had Atlantean lives together, okay? There's an Atlantean vibe here on this page. It can't not be, because we work with the energies of colour and crystals, both of which were huge healing modalities in Atlantis, as was light. So Julian is saying here that remember your Atlantean heritage. Remember it says karma, but this is good karma. This is about your gifts, your gifts and your wisdom and your knowledge and your light that you held in Atlantis. Bring it back now, the world needs it. And he's saying that the water that Ashtar was talking about in my last video, where Ashtar was talking about the rain bringing in the codes, he's saying that the rain is also bringing back aspects of Atlantis, but he's saying it's bringing back the golden aspects of Atlantis, not the period when Atlantis fell, when Atlantis had become corrupt. He's saying actually your world at the moment is corrupt and is falling away. The old paradigm is falling away. And actually what these waters are doing, even though they are inconvenient in places because they are pooling and flooding, they are bringing back the energy of Atlantis, okay? He's saying that it's not just the land that is affected by this in terms of flooding, it is the seas as well, okay? So the seas, and again we've had this from other members of Heart Squad that I channel. I'm not saying Julian is Heart Squad, he's just somebody I'm channeling now, but again he's shown me these ancient lands rising out of the sea actually also submerging parts of land that need to be sunk for a while to be rebirthed at some later point in another millennia, but he's also showing me lands rising up. So it's very important that we understand that this water phenomena that is happening at the moment in our world, through excess of it, is bringing back the Atlantean energy. Okay. Then we've got a card again, another watery card. What do you think of this one? This says ice fishing. Breakthroughs, increased self-awareness. Card number 33. There's a lot of master energy with him, isn't there? We've had 55, we've had 22, we've had 11, we've now got 33. Ice fishing. Well, it's the card of breakthroughs, increased self-awareness. I think this is just a nod to him to say, keep on going, keep on going. Breakthroughs are happening. Hold the light, basically. More awakenings are happening, which is another word for awareness, really. More people are becoming self-aware. Then we've got the card of purity. He's saying, be a pillar of society, stand up for what is right. That's what I tried to do. I don't believe he ever intended anything to get into the wrong hands that could be used against people that he was trying to stand up for. Anything that was released that potentially could have caused harm was never his intention. I actually got the message earlier that you can't make an omelette without breaking some eggs. So if you think about when you're back to that analogy Metatron gave earlier about Julian with the big broomstick, and he's sweeping all of the dirt and the debris into the center of the room so that we have to look at it. We have to look at the shadow, okay? Well, when you sweep with a brush, you can also pick up a few bits that you didn't even realize were there in the cobwebs, you know? So if anything was there that was released that potentially has caused any harm, that was never in his heart to do that, is what he's saying. It was never in his heart to do that. What he was trying to do was just bring to light wrongdoing, okay? Wrongdoing. So he's saying, be a pillar of be a pillar of society, be a pillar of virtue, a pillar of goodness, a pillar of purity. I will say that Chelsea Manning, who is refusing to testify against him, I'm picking up with her energy, again, this strand of loyalty. Because again, Bradley Manning, she was born Bradley Manning, okay? And she has become Chelsea Manning. So it was interesting, I just went back to Bradley there. Maybe I just needed to say that in this video for whatever reason. But I did look at her numerology as well, and she comes out as a 36-9. 36 is the one that is the gateway for others. It's the person that is the gateway and the light for other people. It's literally like she opened up the gateway, and 9 is that energy of then going through it with some force. But again, I feel that Chelsea has got a galactic energy about her as well. I don't have her photograph to show you, but if you look at her photograph, again, there's just, maybe I can get it up on my phone, there's a galactic energy very strongly with her. And the thing with the Galactics, I'm hearing, just get her picture up, is they've got a strong sense of loyalty to each other. We can learn a lot from them. Chelsea's not ever going to rat on him, basically. There we go. That's what she looks like. That's what she looks like. Again, somebody that came in that chose a very difficult path. Wow. I mean, that's another video in itself, to be perfectly honest. Shall I just pull a card for Chelsea from this original deck? So we had, Julian came up as that, didn't he? So I'll go back to the cards in a minute that I was talking about, but you know the way that I work, I sort of dance around a little bit. Oh, how interesting. She's got exactly the same card that he got when I first did it. Do you remember me showing you that card earlier? Seeker of Orbs. And it's like taking the orb of truth. Remember, orbs are swords, so they're about truth. Look at that. So Chelsea Manning gets exactly the same card that I pulled, or that came up earlier for Julian. They're like twins. That's what I'm feeling with them. They're like twin energies. They might even be twin souls. By that, I don't mean that they're two souls that have split into... I don't mean they're one soul that's split into two. I just mean they're two very kindred souls. They're from the same planet. I mean, they've both got a lot of guts. Wow. Right, well, where do we leave this then, Metatron? Let's just... I always revert back to Metatron, but Ashtar's here as well. Okay, Ashtar. Where do we go here from here? Is there anything else to say with this video? Julian. Okay, thank you. I'm not being told this will happen, but what I'm being told is if they were to crush him, if they were to crush Julian, what Ashtar is saying is there are 10,000 like him that will follow. Okay? that pile of dirt in the middle of the room, symbolically, in terms of everything they've tried to cover up and they don't want us to know about, and a lot of it we still don't know about, by the way, there's no pushing it back into the corners. It's going to stay there. I'm actually being shown these galactic, I'm just going to call them beings, for want of a better word, who are standing around that pile of information. And there is information that has not yet been released, that will be released at some point, and nothing is ever going to stop that. Nothing's going to stop it. So I'm just being shown this great big train of beings behind Julian that will carry on his work if anything were to happen to him. I'm going to pull a couple of cards for end result for Julian. End result for Julian in this particular incarnation. End result for Julian. Pole shift. Well, you could interpret that many different ways. Pole shift is about a change of heart, a turnaround or a reversal. This could be good. This could be a reversal in his fortunes. You know, a pole shift is literally from being a completely trapped man and incapacitated to somebody who's completely free. I would love that to be the case for him. Or it could be that powers that were are replaced by a whole other echelon of people and leaders that suddenly look again at this guy, whether this is in 5 years or 20 years, and say, actually, that guy who's still in prison, can you bring him back out, please? Can you bring him back out here? He needs an award. You know, there's an award now. You know, they didn't appreciate you, we do now. It's that type of thing. So I don't know whether that pole shift is personal or collective. It's both, isn't it? And again, you see it's card number 36. I was just saying 36 is the gateway. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. Let's just pull one card from the Metatron deck to end with. Yeah, okay. Those two come out. Okay. I said to you earlier, Mother Mary. This card actually is a strong mothering energy as well. He's got a feminine energy protecting him as well. His mother is still alive, I've learned since I had my tea break. So his mother is a warrior for him. That thing about women's rage will change the world. Remember me, I've said that in many videos. His mum isn't going to stay quiet, okay? His mum is going to fight to her last breath in her body for her son. Wow, I feel that. And then the card of communication came out. Again, the card of communication in the Metatron deck, there's a message in a bottle. The point is that the message and the things that he's released, even if we don't get to hear what they all are yet, because I still feel there's a great big tranche that hasn't been released to the public. I don't know if I'm right in that, but that's what I'm getting. It's as though at some point those messages land on a shore, and that shoreline is hospitable, and the people of that land open up that bottle and they read the message, and I'm hearing they change the world with it. Okay. Almost feels like a very balanced way to end it, because it's like we've got Metatron and Ashtar who just feel these very sort of feminine, that was interesting, very masculine energies I was going to say, but then we've got these two beautiful feminine energies as well. We've got the masculine and the feminine. We've got the number 4 energy of balance and foundation. I'd like just to end with a prayer for his continued protection, for the truth to out, for thy will to be done. Amen. Okay, much love. I better get this uploaded now. That was interesting, wasn't it? There's so much more to say. So much more to say on this subject, but I think that will do for now. I'm just looking up at the clouds and seeing the light again coming through. Bye guys. Thanks very much for all your support.